Hey folks, Jessica here. So we're in Genshin Impact again today. Don't worry, this has not become a Genshin Impact channel. I'm just covering Genshin right now because I've been playing a lot of it, and I've got thoughts. For reference, I am Adventure Rank 36. It's about 9 days after launch, so that'll give you an idea of how much I've been playing. And I want to do this because I keep on hearing the same questions from other players, and I keep on seeing people make what I would call mistakes that are going to really hurt them in the long run. So today's video is going to be 10 common mistakes that you might be making in Genshin. And this is not just beginner mistakes. I see a lot of mid-game, even like late game, if there's such a thing right now, mistakes players are making that's going to really cost them in terms of resources and the ability to advance their characters on time. So let's just jump right into it. The number one mistake I see people making in this game, and one that's really going to hold back your progression, is letting your resin cap. So do me a favor, open up your map, look in the top right hand corner. If this says 120 out of 120, pause the video, go find a ley line, a world boss, a domain, anything that will consume resin, and spend your resin, because resin is stamina, it's AP. It's extremely important to make sure you're not wasting that stuff. This game's deceptive. When you first open it up and run around and play, you might think, oh, giant open world. I can do as much as I want, progress as much as I want, as long as I want, and never have to worry about stamina gating. But that couldn't be further from the truth. The thing is, most of the important systems in this game are gated in some way or another by resin. And a lot of the ways you're going to be relying on early on are one time only. So let's look at some concrete examples with systems. Adventure Rank XP. This is what everyone's grinding on right now. In order to get it early on, you're probably doing quests, you're probably doing oculuses, you're probably opening chests. Those are all one time only. So with the exception of the basic like wooden chests, none of those chests respawn. And the ones that do respawn, the wooden ones, jury's out on how long that takes. It's most likely on the order of days for those things to respawn. And then the quests run out really fast. You actually run out of main story quest at 29. That's when the last main story quest is. It's not when the story's over, that's just all they've released for now. So you're going to run out of those. And then oculuses, those are obviously limited, because once you've unlocked all of them and you've maximum upgraded these shrines, they're not available anymore. So after that, the only Adventure Rank XP you're going to get is from your daily commissions, which are daily, and whatever resin XP you get. So they make the conversion really simple. It doesn't matter if you spend it here, 100, or here, 200. It's always 20 resin equals 100 XP, because this domain, this takes 20 resin to collect the reward for 100 XP. This gives 200 XP, but it takes 40 resin. So you can see the conversion there, how that works. It's always static. So if you're sitting there thinking, oh, woe is me, my adventure rank's so low, I'm leveling so slowly, and you're sitting on 120 at 120 resin, bruh. Bruh. Spend your resin. If you have 120 resin, that's 600 adventure rank XP. And then it's not just that, though, because there's lots of mechanics that are gated behind resin. Let's look at Ascension for a character, taking them from like 4-star, 5-star, for example, for deluxe. Materials on the right are farmable. Materials on the left are not farmable without resin. So this flower, that drops from this world boss here. Claiming the reward from this boss takes 40 resin. You need 12 flowers. It usually drops 2 per kill, so you have to run this thing 6 times. And that's going to be 240 resin for Deluxe. And Deluxe is just one character. You have to do it for everybody. In addition to that, like, same thing if you're trying to ascend weapons. Stuff on the right here, farmable. Stuff on the left, not farmable. This is from a domain. This takes resin. Talents, leveling talents. On the right, farmable. On the left, not farmable resin. This is from a domain, takes resin. Everything takes freaking resin. Get used to it. If you want to get like best in slot artifacts for characters, so like for example, the Crimson Witch set, best in slot for Deluxe. This is from a domain. That's from this domain, and this is a random drop. There's 4 sets that can drop from here. And you're only looking for a Crimson Witch, really. You might be looking for some martial artist pieces so those aren't wasted, but if you're targeting best in slot, Crimson Witch. And by the way, I'm going to have to go back and farm the 5-star when I get to adventure rank 40, but that's neither here nor there. But yes, in order to get a stat roll that's correct on the artifacts, more on that later, so like an offensive stat on like a certain piece, took me something like, oh boy, it took me something like 300 to 400 resin to get the drop and for it to be the right stat combination. So get used to it. You're going to spend a ton of resin on everything. Number 2 mistake, not farming resources for Ascension ahead of time. So what do I mean by that? Let's look at Mona. To extend Mona, you need these stupid mushrooms, these things. So if you've got a character and you've tried to send them, they all require material, and you've probably been like, oh shit, where'd I get that? And then you go get it, and then boom, done, fine. No problem, bingo bango. However, when you get into the higher levels, like say, let's look at, where are you, Fischl. You start needing a shit ton of these things. You need 45 of these lamp grass. And by the way, I run Fischl and Deluxe, who both use the same material, so I actually need 90 of this. And why do I say this is a mistake to farm this at the last minute? Well, I need 90 of this. Do you know how many spawn in the map? Maximum in the map of lamp grass at any given time, 58. You know why I know that? Because I had one lamp grass, I hit adventure rank 35, and then I want to send these two, and both of them required 30, so I needed 60, and there's 58 in the map, so I had exactly 59. It was feel bad. It was super feels bad. I actually got the last one because one of my friends, Zero, who's awesome, let me jump in his map and steal one of his lamp grass. But that's gonna be a major blocker for you as you get higher and higher, because presumably taking Deluxe from 5 to 6 is going to take even more. It's probably going to take like 60 or something. So farm those ahead of time. Yes, you're not going to need them for a while, but if you don't farm them ahead of time, you're going to get to the point where you need to send them, and you're not going to be able to unless you have very kind friends that let you pillage their map. And if you're not sure where to get them, just look them up to farm them ahead of time. They all grow in weird places, so don't expect to just run into them in the world. So, for example, I've been in front of this stupid house because these mushrooms that Mona uses spawn on the side of buildings. They even spawn in Mondstadt. Quite so. There's one on the little eave right there, and then sometimes they're in the chimneys. They're usually all over the freaking place. So be aware of that. Always be farming those. Don't put it off until the last minute. Number 3 mistake players make is not being aware of the rotating domain schedule in terms of materials. So what does that mean? Well, let's look at the flute. If I wanted to ascend this, I need one more of these blue wolf tubes. These blue wolf tubes only come from the Domain of Forgery on Tuesday, Friday, and kind of Sunday. More on that in a second. So if I went through the rest of my day and didn't think about it and let it roll into Wednesday about farming one more of these and then realized I needed one, I would not be able to upgrade this thing until Friday, which kind of sucks. So be aware of when you're going to need these things, and if possible, try and farm for the next Ascension as well. So what I'm actually going to do today is farm the one I need and then plus several more so I can do the next Ascension when I get to that point as well. Try and plan ahead. The issue with the Sunday one, let's look at the general inventory, is there's several different materials. So like for example, I was looking at flute. Let's look at, like, where's sacrificial sword? Sacrificial sword, this thing, ascending it takes these shackles. The Sunday dungeon drops all the materials, so not just tubes, shackles, balls, all of them. They all drop on Sunday. And because of that, it's really rough to farm that one unless you need literally all the materials, because it's a very high likelihood you're going to get the wrong material, and it's just going to take a lot more resin to get the right material. So plan ahead. Number 4 mistake I see a lot of players make is they don't actually read their talents. I don't know what it is about this game, but players tend to not actually read what the skills really do and how the character is meant to be built. So I think it's because it's an action game. And players will just get a character like Jean, and they'll be like, oh, she's a knight with a sword. Left click swings her sword. E makes her throw out a wind poof. And then her Q heals people. I get it. I understand how this character works completely. I'm just going to build her however I want. Good at games. It's like, no. Nobody, not good at games. Here's the thing. If you don't read how the character scales, you're going to build the character wrong. So let's look at Dandelion Breeze, her alt. This is the part we care about, for an example. At the same time, she instantly regenerates a large amount of HP for all party members. HP restored scales off Jean's attack. Okay, pretty straightforward there. Let's look at Barbara. Shining Miracle. Heals friendly forces in all parties for a large amount of HP that scales with Barbara's max HP. I don't know if you caught that, but Jean's heal scales off of attack. Barbara's heal scales off of max HP. This is why people don't generally recommend you build Barbara as an offensive character, because her heal doesn't scale with attack. If you give her a ton of attack, then yeah, she'll attack for a lot with left click, but her heal will heal for fuck all, because that's not what it scales off of. So that's why you've got to be aware. Similarly, you wouldn't want to give Jean a lot of HP either. Not that you would want to anyway, but you wouldn't want to specifically because Dandelion Breeze doesn't scale off of HP. It scales off of attack. So you want to give Jean a lot of attack stuff, and you want to give Barbara a lot of HP stuff. And that is why you need to understand what the skills actually do and how the character is meant to be built. Number 5 mistake players make. They don't make enough use of the pin system in this game. So if you didn't know, you can click anywhere on the map and drop a pin. So I found one of the mushrooms to send Mona here, so I can drop a custom pin. And then let's give it a name. So Mona's Mushrooms 01. And now I know, whenever I look at this map, that one of her mushrooms spawns here, so I can check back routinely and see if it's respawned. There's in fact also an external website that's an interactive map for this that I recommend over the in-game map, just because it's way more robust. I'll link in the description down below. But if you don't want to use an external site, like you're exclusively playing your phone and looking at external sites of pain, then use the pins. They're really important, especially if you're trying to collect all Oculuses. There's lots of Oculuses. And chances are you're going to get to like missing only 3 of them or so, and you're going to want to look at a map to try and figure out where the last 3 you're missing are. Thing is, if you've not marked which ones you've found, and you look at a map, you're going to see all of them. And you're like, oh shit, I don't know which one of these I've actually found already. And you're going to have to go to every single one of them on the map in order to find the 3 you're missing. It's a lot of headache. Just save yourself the pain. Whenever you find an Oculus, mark on the map so you know for the future. Number 6 mistake players make in this game. This is going to be a controversial one, by the way. They invest too heavily in 3-star weapons. I say this is controversial because there are wildly varying, intense opinions on 3-star weapons. There's 2 camps, and this even goes for YouTubers. There's 2 camps. There's one that say, oh, the 3-star weapons are really good, actually. They don't get a fair shake. And then there's another camp that says the 3-star weapons are fine, but they're going to get replaced, and they're a huge waste of materials. I'm in the latter camp. Here's the thing. I'm not saying 3-star weapons are bad. I am saying that a lot of the 4-star weapons are better. And you're gonna replace 3 stars with 4 stars eventually. That's not even talking about 5 stars. Of course a 5-star weapon is better than a 3-star weapon. And the issue there is all the materials you spend on this thing are gonna go to waste. So you're gonna spend tons of XP mats on these. Tons of XP mats on these. But that's not even the bigger part of the problem. The bigger part of the problem is these things. The mats that require resin to get. Because you're going to have to spend a lot of these, especially you take this really high. You take this thing with 6-star, that's huge, yikes, man, but, you know, you do you. You take a 6-star, it's going to take a ton of Ascension mats that take resin. So it's going to take a ton of resin, effectively. And then, what happens if you pull a flute? Flute is better than this weapon. 1000% better. Flute is one of the strongest one-handers in the game. Flute's an incredibly powerful weapon. And it's just a 4-star, it's not even a 5-star. So you pull one of these, what do you do with this thing? Okay, you give it to another one-handed character. Okay, fine. What if you like build up a prototype Rancor? Yeah, like you max refine this sucker. This thing's pretty good too. This thing's probably better than this thing for sure. So what if you do that? Well, then you give the sword to another one-hand. Okay, you just get to cycle through every single one-hand user, most of which you're probably not using. No, you're probably not going to do that or make practical use out of that. You're probably going to do something like feed this sword to this thing. You might be thinking, well, just fine. Feed your upgraded 3-star weapon to your 4-star weapons. Worth a ton of XP. It is. That lets you reclaim the XP mats to a degree. But what about the Ascension mats? What about all the domains you had to farm? Not to mention the things that didn't require resin to farm. What about those things? They're gone forever. They're never coming back. You get no value out of those. They're just in the wind. Here's the thing. You've got to look at this game like a resin economy if you want to be effective in your progression. Everything takes resin, therefore, if you misspend resin, it's going to slow you down. You're going to be behind the progression curve. If you don't care, you don't care. Do what you want. Live your best life. Get your max level 3-star weapon. Do you. But if you care about progressing relatively fastly and not wasting resources, then the 3-star weapons are a waste because those Ascension mats are never coming back. And then you might also be thinking, Jessica, I'm a free-to-play player. You're giving whale advice. That's advice for a stinking whale like you. And it's like, well, one, yeah, I am a stinking whale. But two, that's not whale advice. You're gonna pull 4-star weapons even as a free-to-play from gacha. Because you're still gonna pull on gacha. You get a ton of free Primo gems. They give away free feints all the time. You're gonna pull on gacha, you're gonna pull a 4-star weapon, and the second you pull a better 4-star weapon than one of your 3-star weapons, you're gonna suddenly realize the error of your ways. And then beyond that, not all the 4-star weapons are from gacha. Like, some of them are from crafting. Like, Prototype Rancor is crafted. Prototype Malice is crafted. And by the way, this thing, if you're running Barbara as a pure healer, which is, I would argue, the best use case for her, is her best in slot weapon. This is the best possible weapon you could use on Barbara as a pure healer. It's better than any of the 5-star options even for Barbara. So if you invest in like random book like this one that works on Hydro characters, and then you make a Prototype Malice and this thing's level like 80 and like, 6 stars, and it's like, well, what the fuck can you do now? You're gonna be regretting this material. So that's where I'm coming at it from. Not saying these are bad, not saying that at all. But if you want to invest in these, you should keep your investment minimum. Take them to 40, I would say, tops. Don't ascend them past that, because then you're wasting so many mats. And if you really want to upgrade something, then while you're using this, like up to 40, start farming mats to make these things. You can totally get the mats to make like any of the prototype weapons, and they're solid. So that's how you should be spending your materials and resources. In the same vein, you really don't want to invest in an artifact that has the wrong stat. So by that I mean this stat right here, because several of these artifacts slots can roll a bunch of different stats. So like crowns, for example, can roll attack, but they can also roll like HP, they can roll defense. These are random when you pick up the artifact. And to be honest, for the vast majority of characters, with some exceptions like Barbara, who prefers HP, you want an offensive stat here. Attack is obviously fine. Crit is going to be fine for most characters. Elemental Mastery, fine for most characters. Elemental Damage Up. If it's the right element for the character, it's going to be fine. Those are all good, all keepable. Defensive stats tend to just not be that good in this game. Honestly, anything that's a defensive stat like HP or defense, any of that stuff is going to be a transitional piece. It's going to be something you replace when you get the attack version of that. I know there's someone out there that's like, I like high HP builds, or I like high defense builds. The thing is, the game is just not balanced really to work well with those kind of builds. You're just going to kill everything slower. And this game, like most RPGs, the most valid strategy is if you just kill the thing before it can damage you, then you're fine. It doesn't matter that you have high HP or anything if the thing's just dead. So that's how artifacts are typically evaluated. And yes, I know that means you're going to be throwing away some artifacts that you think are super good. But to be honest, the set bonus doesn't outweigh this. This 34% attack is going to be a bigger deal than just 15% electro damage bonus. So I had to farm a ton of these Thunder Summoner crowns to get ones that were the right stat. That's just something you're going to have to get used to. Similarly, you can get some stats that are just indefensible on some of these. So where is it? It's this one. This one. There's no protection on these freaking random stats. So this thing is the Animo damage bonus, right? But it's set bonus. This set is the Pyro damage set. This is complete garbage, completely unusable, because there's no Animo Pyro character. There's no dual element character at the same time yet. So like that's pretty yikes. Similarly, you can get stuff like this where you get a healing bonus on a set that's ostensibly geared towards DPS. You could throw this on someone that does heal, that does DPS, like I guess Jean, but overall not ideal. I'd just rather have more attack on Jean, especially since Jean's heal scales with attack anyway. Those are all things to factor in. What I'm not talking about these substats here. These are also random. Yeah, get used to a lot of randoms. Yes, it would be great if all these aligned. Like, I don't super really want HP or energy recharge here, but it having those doesn't mean I'm just going to throw this thing out because this thing is otherwise the right combinations of stats. I mean, I'm sure if you're like turbo endgame, like a year from now, you might be hunting the perfect substats on something. But for the point we are in the game, just if it's got an offensive stat, it's good. If it doesn't, probably don't really want to sink like plus 16, plus 20 into it. Also note that certain slots have a static stat. Flowers are always HP. So you've got a lot more leeway of drops on flowers because they're all HP, so they're fine. Like this is the one I'm on that's on the look. It's HP. It's fine though because it can only roll HP. Same with Official's Flower, Thunderbird's Mercy. It can only roll HP. Feathers can only roll attack, so feathers are fine as well. So flowers and attack, they're always going to be the right stat, so you're good there. But these three, so hourglasses, chalices, and crowns, all of those can roll random stats, and you want an offensive stat, unless you're a very narrow subset of characters that doesn't want an offensive stat. Number 7 mistake players make, and this is also going to be controversial, but hear me out and try and understand my whole argument before you get really defensive about a character you like. People invest in the wrong characters. So I've seen many people do this. Understand that I'm not saying if you don't have a better Electro character, for example, than Lisa, that you shouldn't invest in Lisa. No, you need characters of every element. So if you only have Lisa as an Electro character, sure, build her. That's totally legit because she's perfectly serviceable as an Electro character. But I've seen people who have pulled official level Lisa instead. And that's very questionable. I'm not speaking to whether or not you like their designs or you like their playstyles, because those preferences I can't speak to, but I'm speaking to their overall potential for being powerful endgame characters. Lisa is a bottom tier character. Fischl is the highest tier 4-star. She is one of the strongest characters in game, the only 4-star that's S tier with like Diluc, Kiki, and Venti, the other S tier characters in most lists. Chi is often considered more powerful than Keqing, who's a 5-star. So if you were to build one of the worst characters in the game over one of the best characters in the game, that's questionable. If your preference is Lisa because you like her voice actress or whatever, then like that's you. I can't speak to that. That's legit. You have your own reasons for doing whatever you want to do. But from a purely like potential characters investment resources standpoint, that's not a great idea. And the thing with this game is right now, it is so stingy with the materials you can get to ascend and level characters that you really can't just spend materials on a character willy-nilly like that. You need to look at everything as an investment right now. And I think that's a mindset a lot of people have trouble getting into. And again, if Lisa's your only Electro character, build her. But if you have a freaking like a Razor, build Razor instead, man. What are you doing? Like, Razor's way better than Lisa. If you have Keqing, build Keqing. If you have freaking Fischl, build Fischl. Dear God, build Fischl if you're gonna build an Electro character and you have them. But if you don't have a better option, then yes, it's totally fine to build one of these characters. You've got to understand these characters. So Lisa, Kea, Amber, these are like free story characters. You get these for just playing the game. Like you don't you don't have to pull in gacha to get these characters. These are just story characters you get. Therefore, logically, they're going to be weaker than characters you do pull on gacha to get. So keep that in mind. Amber, widely considered the worst character in the game. Sorry, Amber, but it's true. So understand that. And if you're like, oh, Lisa seems fine to me, Lisa does really good damage, my Lisa, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to insert a clip after this of my official doing a boss, and then you can use that as your guideline to whether or not official is worth building. So here comes that clip. So that's World Rank 3, by the way. It's not like World Rank 1 or anything. And that's almost entirely Official's raw damage. Deluxe is just there to break the weak spot to send him into a vulnerability phase. And Official kills that thing in one vulnerability phase. In exactly 4 combos, she drops that thing. So that's kind of the metric that you would compare to if you had both characters. If you had Official and Elisa, you might do fine with Lisa, but you're not going to do that with Lisa. So keep that in mind. Like, everything's relative. If you really like Lisa because you love her character design and her voice actors, and I imagine that's a lot of people because it's meant to appeal to a certain audience, let's just say, then fine, build Lisa. Like, live your best life. But if you're looking for, like, relative potential, like how strong the character can be and what's going to be the most effective option, build Official. And that goes for any character. Compare your options. Compare the character you're thinking about building versus all the other characters you have. If you don't have a character, that's a completely different discussion. But make that comparison before you decide to invest in one, because this game does not give you enough resources to fully upgrade everybody. Like, my K-Ching's only 54. I'm out of books. Get used to being unable to upgrade all the characters. You definitely don't get enough resources to just experiment with characters in this game. And I would say that's a huge problem in the game, but we'll see if that gets better later. Mistake number 8 a lot of players make is they don't pay attention to elemental resonance when building a team. So I'm a little bit guilty of this too early on. A lot of folks will try and include 4 different elements on their main team to give them the most flexibility. There's some sense to that. However, you gotta factor this in. If you've never opened the stream before, this is Elemental Resonance. And I suggest you open up and read through the different bonuses to get an idea of what's possible. But different combinations of elements on a team will give a passive bonus to the whole team. So 4 different elements gives you Protective Canopy, which is all elemental resistance plus 15%. This is the least exciting of them. It's fine, it's going to reduce the amount of damage taken a little bit, but it's not that good. Double Wind, though, gives you Impetuous Winds, decrease stamina consumption by 15%, increase movement speed by 10%, shortens skill cooldowns by 5%. This one is really nice for like things like exploration. This is the team I usually use when I'm just looking for chests and stuff because it makes you move faster and you don't consume as much stamina. This is a really fun combo. Another example, Double Fire. And by the way, you can run 2 characters one element, 2 characters another element, get 2 bonuses. That's a thing you can do. Whether or not that's going to be worth trading off your flexibility for is going to be situational, but that is a possibility. But Double Fire, Fervent Flames, affected by Cryo for 40% less time. Here's the big one, though. Increases attack by 25%. Double Fire on your team is going to considerably increase the amount of damage you do. Let's look at Double Electro. High Voltage, affected by Hydro for 40% less time. Most of those have something like that. Most of these have something like that, I should say. And Superconduct, Overloaded, and Electrocharge have a 1% chance to generate an Electro Elemental Particle. This is going to let your Electro characters spam their Elemental Burst. And on that note, another benefit of running 2 characters of the same element. When a character attacks an enemy, they create Elemental Particles. It goes to the team, mostly to them. Those particles charge up their Elemental Burst. However, if you have multiple characters of the same element on a team, so you have an Electro character out and they generate particles, it's going to increase the Elemental Burst of another Electro character on the team faster than everybody else. So with Keqing and Fischl on the team, in addition to this elemental resonance, these two essentially just feed each other elemental burst, elemental particles, just non-stop. And these two together let them both spam their elemental burst as fast as the cooldown allows. So that's another thing to factor in. Mistake number 9 I see some people making is they don't read what's actually on the banners. I have seen a few times now people say things like, I pulled 90 times for Klee, and well, I didn't get her. And it's like, I got news for you, buddy. Klee's not on this banner. And Klee is not on this banner either. Klee's not in the game yet. Klee and Zhao are not in the game yet. I don't know why people do that, but I think it's because those were both closed beta test characters, so they thought they would just be in the pool already. But they're not released yet, so don't pull for them if they're who you want. Additionally, a lot of people get really upset if they pull a 5-star weapon on this permanent banner. And I understand where they're coming from, because at this point in the game, the more exciting thing's definitely going to be characters over weapons. However, if you do pull a 5-star weapon like an Amos bow's really good bow. It's like best in slot bow for Fischl, any DPS archer. Like, it's a really good weapon, and those are important. It's just, I understand you want the characters right now. That's fine. Well, if you want characters and you don't want weapons, well, let me introduce you to my friend and yours, the Venti banner, because this banner does not have weapons on it. If the idea of pulling a 5-star weapon just makes you shrivel up inside, pull on the Venti banner. There's no weapons on here. If you pull 5-star on the Venti banner, you're gonna pull a character, a 5-star character. There's a 50% chance it's gonna be a Venti the first time, and a 100% chance it's a Venti if you didn't pull him the first time you pull a second 5-star. But it's definitely going to be a character. So here's the equation, the math you have to do. What's gonna frustrate you more, pulling Venti or pulling a 5-star weapon? And if the answer is pulling Venti is gonna piss you off more than pulling a 5-star weapon, I'd ask, what the hell do you have against Venti? Venti's like one of the best characters in the game, but whatever. So yes, read the banners, understand what's on them. Number 10 mistake I see a lot of players make, and this is a big one. They don't pay attention to their pull count towards the guaranteed 5-star. What do I mean by that? When you pull on any of the character banners, you have a 0.6% chance of drawing a 5-star. That is extremely low. However, you're guaranteed to get one 5-star every 90 pulls. So if you pull 89 times and you haven't got a 5-star, 90 will be a 5-star, guaranteed. If you pull a 5-star before 90, so you're like on 51 pulls and you pull 52, and 52 is a 5-star, it resets the count. So that's how that works. This game is extremely unfriendly to people who have trouble saving their pulls and just like to YOLO their pulls as soon as they get them, because your chances of getting a 5-star like that are extremely low. 0.6 is extraordinarily low. You've got to play around this guarantee, this 90 pull guarantee. That's the only way to reliably get 5-stars. And what that means is you shouldn't really pull on Venti or any rotating banner unless you can do enough pulls to guarantee your 5-star, because these don't carry over. So if you pull on the Venti banner 79 times and then the next banner rolls in, this one rolls out, you're back at 0. Your roll count doesn't carry over. So that's a bad place to be. Now, I'm not saying if you're a new player that you shouldn't pull on banners at all until you can get to 90, because it's going to take you a while to get to 90. And honestly, you're going to get a lot more enjoyment out of the game if you pull a few times, get some new characters to play with, because a lot of the gacha characters are way more fun than like the baseline characters you start with. It's fine to pull on the banners to get some characters early on. It's going to vastly increase your enjoyment of the game. However, what I am saying is try and predict. You've got 12 days left on this banner. Can you get to 90 pulls before this banner rotates out? If you think you can, then yes, pull on this banner, that's fine. But if you're in the future and like watching this and you've got 2 days left on the banner and you don't think you can get to 90 pulls, then don't pull on this banner. Instead, you should be pulling on this banner, because this banner doesn't rotate. Downside of this banner is doesn't have a rate up for Venti. I don't even think it has Venti on it. Does this? Yeah, this banner doesn't even have Venti on it. And you can pull a 5-star weapon potentially, and if you don't want a 5-star weapon, then that's not great either. But this banner at least doesn't rotate. So if you don't think you can hit the 90 guarantee on this one, pull on this one, because this one won't rotate and your pulls are always counted towards that count. This one's the safer one if you don't think you can hit the 90 guarantee. So keep that in mind, because these things are very important, because this game has been accused of being free-to-play unfriendly because of its low 5-star rate, and I would say that's actually true if you don't play around that 90 pull guarantee. If you do, then you'll be okay. But if you don't, then yeah, it's gonna be rough as a free-to-play because you're dealing with such a low rate. And if you want like perspective here, casual flex, I have literally every character in the game, so I know what I'm talking about. You can have much better success trying to acquire characters if you play around that 90 guarantee and are very aware of it. So that's 10 mistakes players have been making in Genshin Impact. It's very likely some of these apply to you. If they do, don't worry about it too much. I mean, the game's been out for like 9 days. If I had to add a 11th mistake, I would say it's worrying about it too much. The game's super new. Don't get too frustrated by anything. But do consider whether or not these are things you do, and then try and decide whether or not you want to correct these things, because some of these things can really impact your overall fun of the game, especially if you care about things like how fast you're able to progress or your ability to get 5 stars and whatnot and have cool things. But yeah, if you've enjoyed this, let me know in the comments down below. I will probably do more Genshin Impact videos here and there. Again, this isn't becoming a Genshin Impact channel. I'm still gonna do Granblue Fantasy videos and other videos, but right now I've been playing a lot of Genshin, so I've got a lot of thoughts and people have a lot of questions. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.